Go to BVA.org to find out how you can directly make a difference in the lives of the brave men and women who have given their eyesight in defense of our freedom. They fought for your independence, and by going to BVA.org, you can find out how to help these veterans regain theirs. Go to BVA.org today.
Well, welcome to the show, you guys. I'll give you a chance here to introduce yourselves, but today I just want to say Happy April. How are you guys? Can you introduce yourselves real quick?
Sure. My name is Tracy Ferro. I'm the National Secretary with the Blinded Veterans Association. For now, I'll be moving up here in a few months, but that's where I'm at.
All right. Terry?
And I'm Terry Galgano. I am the National Membership Coordinator for the Blinded Veterans Association. I've been doing this job for almost 2 years now.
Great. Well, I'm glad you guys could make it on the show, and everybody's excited to hear what you have to say. Today we're going to talk a little bit about membership and history of the organization and where we are today. And Tracy, maybe you could take this first question. Can you tell me a bit about the mission and the history of the Blinded Veterans Association, and maybe more importantly, how it's evolved to support both blind and low vision veterans?
Sure, I'm more than happy to. And that is a very simple question. It's got a kind of involved answer because it touches so many different areas and has so many responsibilities. Because with the BVA, we represent blinded veterans, but the way it came about is what has so many lasting and long-reaching effects. Because we started, the organization started, when we say we, I don't mean Tracy because I'm not that old. 80 years ago in Avon Old Farms up in Connecticut, a bunch of blinded veterans, and active duty actually too, from both the European theater and from the Pacific theater were there. And that's where they were receiving treatment. And this was one of the latest groups of returning soldiers from the theaters of war. They sent back the healthy kids first, and then they sent back the kids that were wounded. Then they sent back the kids that were amputated, and then down the line. So the blinded veterans that were there were actually receiving in England. They were receiving treatment through the UK, which had a program set up and everything. And I keep saying kids because I mean literally they were kids. The soldiers that started the Blinded Veterans Association and the veterans, they were teens and in their young 20s and stuff. Those were the kids that fought the war over there and in Japan. So they got together. They said, we need some form of support. We need help. We're banging into light poles and stuff. We don't know what's going on. There was nothing there. So they actually approached General Bradley, who was the secretary of VA, which wasn't even called that back then. I'm not sure what it was called, honestly, but the secretary of VA said, General Bradley, listen, here we are. We're broken. We need help. We're blind. We have our whole lives ahead of us. What do we do? So General Bradley, in conjunction with them, said, okay, you're right. We're going to set this up. And they set up at Hines in Chicago the first blind rehab center. They said, you guys are out there. We're going to get you training. We're going to get you to rehabilitation services thing. And, I'm going to be your godfather, for lack of a better word. I'm going to watch over this and make sure it's effective and efficient and is working the correct way. General Bradley was one of the 5-star generals for World War II. So he had a lot of troops. He was Army groups in Europe. He was responsible. He knew how to take care of his troops. So that's how it started. The 100 soldiers, sailors, airmen, whoever was blinded from combat. That's how they were blinded, typically, was combat. There wasn't a whole lot of macular degeneration or glaucoma or RP or age-related because we're kids. So they started the Blinded Veterans Association. It's just this collection, this group of guys that got together. They said, we're going to do this. Got Hines going, started the process. Times evolved, Korea started, and it moved on. And blindness wasn't stopping. bullets were still flying, rock fragments were still hitting eyeballs. One gentleman we had here, one of my veterans down here, Harold Briggs, he actually lost his sight getting ready for North Africa when a grenade, he got hit with a piece of grenade shrapnel from a friendly training accident. And that's how he lost his vision. World War II veteran. So that's how it started. And it continued to grow from there. In 1958, we approached Congress, and we approached Congress to get a charter from Congress for the Blinded Veterans Association to be a veteran service organization that's sole responsibility was to represent blinded veterans. That charter is critical to us. Every VSO, veteran service organization, legitimate VSO, has a congressional charter. And the congressional charter, what is so important, so critical for blinded veterans, and we kind of spread out and spread the wealth a little bit out there, but our main focus is blinded veterans. As that congressional charter, that's a contract, if you will, between Congress and the Blinded Veterans Association. They're saying, you are our man on the spot. You are representing Congress to the Veterans Affairs Administration. And every year, you are required to report back to Congress on that status of what's going on at the VA for blinded veterans. Legislative initiatives, things that you're doing that are going to be for blinded veterans. Every year, we have to do that. Every year we do it. We provide written testimony, we provide oral testimony, as do all veteran service organizations, the VFW, the American Legion, Disabled American Veterans, on and on. I think there's 52 chartered VSOs. The difference is, and I never want to take away from the VFW or DAV or American Legion, they all do a great job for veterans, for disabled veterans. But we're the only ones that does it for blinded veterans. And to kind of give you where that's really critical, oftentimes there'll be people that are diagnosed with diabetes. Diabetes is a major, major thing. A lot of people have diabetes. It has serious health effects. It's a killer. But diabetes can also take your vision. Diabetic retinopathy is one of the big ones out there. And if you go to a VSO and you get your claims, you get everything taken care of where you are awarded benefits for your diabetes that was discovered in service, exacerbated in service, et cetera, and you lost your vision from there, well, it's a whole different set of circumstances because the blindness is many more benefits, many more different opportunities for assistance and rehabilitation than just diabetes, okay? For example, the blind rehab centers. We started out with Hines. We have, through the years, developed 13 blind rehab centers throughout the country. They all got the same general mission as rehabilitation blind veterans, but sometimes they focus on different things. You go to Hines right now. If you want to learn how to ride a train, you go to Hines. They got it because they got trains. They're going to do the training. Don't come to Biloxi for training on how to ride a train because our nearest train is Chicago, okay? But if you want to learn how to walk on a sandy beach, come on down to Biloxi. We got sandy beaches. We can teach you. So all these different blinded blind rehab centers have these different areas of specialty, if you will, but they all have the general basic of teaching veterans how to survive and have a great quality of life. In that same time frame and through that, from the initial starting 80 years ago for the Blinded Veterans Association and combat blinded kids, we have now don't experience it that much anymore through different training, through different equipment, through different healthcare. Medevac, major thing. You didn't have that medevac in World War II. Medevac is incredible. You get damaged in combat now, they medevac you out. You're in healthcare pretty quick and through different services. The kids nowadays, they go to combat, they're issued Oakleys, or there's a new glass set of safety glasses that they wear, and they wear them in combat. So Now, when a bullet comes in and a rock chip comes flying off and it hits that lens, the kid goes to a Sarge, hey, Sarge, I need a new set of glasses. Here you go. They don't ask what happened, how big a bullet, how big of a rock chip. It's scratched. He's not blind. He doesn't have a physical assault on his eyeball. So he's not going to fit that combat blindness. What is happening and what has happened over the years is age-related issues of blindness. People are still going blind from age-related issues. If we went solely and the Blind and Veterans Association was to strictly say your membership can only be based on your combat-related blindness, we wouldn't exist. We'd have closed our doors years ago. So we said we're going to start looking at helping blinded veterans, age-related blindness, glaucoma, RP, macular degeneration, Stargardt's, whatever you got. Okay. So the age has now went from these young kids to the greater age of veteran being in there. And you start coming along with that. And now we've also got medical care and science. 20 years ago, there was not drops for glaucoma. Now you get the drops for glaucoma and they can really control it and get it down better. There's all sorts of different medical treatments for eyes. We have, when they go, science and space, believe it or not, they do a lot of eye testing and what happens with the ocular physiology in space and zero gravity and how that affects your eyeball. And so there's a lot of things that are happening medical that are just growing exponentially and helping prevent blindness, or in some cases it can cure blindness. Detached retinas, you went blind before. They've got ways to fix detached retinas. All this kind of science and everything that has helped and bring it up. So we've got our membership. It grew, started out from young kids, combat wounded, to age related, and we had a steady group of veterans that were, through age, through et cetera, and we stayed there. Now, in 1990 was a major change for veterans of all types of veterans, everything, because in 1990 the Soviet Union went out of business, and when they went out of business, for anybody that was in, the drawdown happened, and it happened fast. They were throwing people out of the military hand over fist. We couldn't get fast enough. Okay, so the immediate active duty military population went from about 3.5 million to about 1.2 million. Bang, overnight. Desert Storm happened, drawdown happened. We walked away. The dust was settling. We settled around 1.2 million. We're still there. We went through 9/11. We went through OEF, OIF, all that with around 1.2 million. Now we're 30 years past that, 35 years past that point. So now that group of veterans that was there in that large group in 1990 has also now dwindled down, because as the active duty force shrunk, the veteran population in turn shrunk. So all these levels are coming down. So where do we go? What do we do? If we looked at the blinded veterans and we said, BVA, you're going to exist only for blinded veterans. First of all, you couldn't survive on only combat blinded veterans. So what do we do now? We're going to go with age-related blinded veterans. At first, actually, it was service-connected. You had to be service-connected. So it wasn't necessarily combat, but you had to be service-connected. Then we went and said, if you're age-related, if you're a blinded veteran, blind and you're a veteran, we got you. We got you covered. The VA, same thing. Blind rehab services, you're covered. We got you. Okay, and that's where it went. And those numbers start dwindling because, again, the veteran population is dropping. Eye health is getting better. So all these reasons are causing things to get better. Not going away, but they're getting better. But then we determined and found out, TBIs, that's a serious thing, a traumatic brain injury. What we didn't know back in World War II that we know now is a TBI can cause blindness. It can really damage the neural structure of your brain and affect your vision and your blindness. So we have lots of folks that are blind due to a TBI that previously we wouldn't have known about because we didn't know the science. So that's there. In turn, we also look and say, what about the guys who are low vision? They're blind. They're functionally blind. Okay, they got sight, they can see, but they're functionally blind. One of the ones that we have the hardest time explaining to people, a couple of them, dyslexia. People think dyslexia is reversing your I's and your E's. That's not dyslexia. Dyslexia is you're looking at a bowl of alphabet soup, and they say, "Oh, you can drive, you can drive." Well, you can drive. There's nothing wrong with being able to drive with dyslexia. You just don't know where you're going because you can't read the sign because it's all mixed up. So you're blind. You can drive, but again, if you don't know where you're going, well, okay, you got to be able to figure that one out. Same thing with night blindness, night vision. It's a functional blindness. If you've got to plan your life around daylight hours, that's a lot of planning. That's a lot of things that affect you. If you're blind and can't see anything, I got to build my life. I want a Snickers bar. I can't jump in my car and get a Snickers bar. I got to do a lot of planning to get that Snickers bar. If I can see during the daytime, but it's 9 o'clock at night, I want a Snickers bar, I got to wait till tomorrow, before I can get in my car and go. So all these different areas, the VA has recognized, the BVA has recognized. And a couple of years ago, the VA said, if you're low vision, which is essentially night blindness, dyslexia, a whole bunch of different things out there that's low vision. You're not blind, but you're low vision. You're getting there, but you're not quite there yet. You're in that scary area. You don't know what the future holds, what's going to happen, okay? He said, you know what? We're going to get into blind rehab services in the VA. We're going to sit there and say, you know what? We have the ability, the tools to help you live life so you can drive down the road and have a sign read to you. So you're low vision, you're not blind, you're right there. We're going to provide the services in blind rehab. So the BVA, we looked, quite honestly, and I was one of the movers on this. I cannot sit in a room with 20 veterans and 10 of them say, you're blind, so you can come into BVA, and you're low vision, and you can't. You're both here receiving the same services through the VA, but I'm not going to give our ability to join our organization and provide that assistance to you because you're just low vision. It doesn't work that way. You'll never have anybody join up. So what do? We said, you know what? If you qualify for blind rehab services in the VA, you qualify for membership in the BVA. We're going to cover you. We're going to work with you. We're going to welcome you with our open arms. We're going to ask some of you low vision guys, help us out. You still got some good vision. You can help us out as blinded veterans. We could help you out as a blind person to say, get ready. It's coming. Sit in the boat. We'll row the boat while you learn how to be blind. We're going to hand you the oar. You're going to have to row one day when the next guy gets in. But right now, we want to help you learn how to live life as a blind person because it doesn't end just because you can't see. So we went that way.
I want to jump in,
Sure.
Tracy, because that was me. It took 7 years for me to lose my vision. I was getting eye injections every 2 weeks for 7 years, starting in 2013. And in 2020, I became legally blind and I was eligible to join the BVA then. But it was so frustrating for me during those 7 years because I had nobody to talk to. I was depressed. I was scared. I wasn't driving at night and there was no help for me. So now I am so happy to see that we can bring in low vision people who have degenerative eye diseases to help them, to show them what's on the other side, that there is hope. And I didn't have that for 7 years, but once I joined the BVA, it was awesome. I was able to make friends with people who were blind and understand so much more about myself and what was going on.
It's a wonderful thing. Yeah.
And if you look, you want to see a really weird correspondence with numbers. The active duty force is 1.2 million. According to the VA, there's 1.2 million veterans out there that are blind or low vision and eligible for those services.
So that leads me to some questions and some thoughts. I was the combat example. I lost my sight at 22 years of age, and woke up halfway from around the world and from the battlefield in Walter Reed. Mm-hmm. And so, but the BVA came to my bedside, different members and individuals, and they shared what the BVA was, and really just like this idea that I should go to blind rehab immediately, and I should try to regain independence and learn how to live life in a new way. And so the BVA absolutely is a remarkable thing. But talking about low vision, it's interesting because in the name Blinded Veterans Association is the word blind. So I think people might get confused, right? So because now we do try to work with low vision veterans, and so people who are listening, whether they're family members or people that are losing their sight, it is something to pay attention to and to reach out. But this question I have is, for veterans that may not be totally blind but are experiencing vision loss, in terms of like community resources and services, what does the BVA offer? Can either one of you chime in on that?
Sure. Well, like Tracy was talking about, we can help you get connected into the VA and the resources that they have available, such as a VIST coordinator, a visual impairment specialist team coordinator, or a blind outreach technician, a BROS. And we can help you see what is available. I was just working with a member recently who couldn't get into the VA because he made too much money and he wasn't service connected and he was completely blind, and the VA wasn't helping him. They just sent him away saying, you make too much money. And we were able to get him into the right department and get him an appointment with an optometrist so that he could become catastrophically disabled, which is a category where you don't have to be service connected, but you can get the services from the VA independent of what you make. We also have different peer support groups, so to speak. Everything that we have right now is online. We have a book club. We have a gardening club. We're vet tech on Wednesday afternoons. We have a new member series at the end of every month to let our new members know what we have and what we're doing for legislative action. We also offer claim services. We have a team of national service officers, veteran service officers, who do nothing but vision claims for the eye. So our people are the experts in the eye care. The DAV, the American Legion, the VFW, they have great service officers, but they often don't see anybody with visual impairments. So they're not adept in navigating all of those regulations, but that's what our people work on all the time.
Absolutely. It's
Tracy?
Yeah, I want to piggyback on the first point. There was the services, the catastrophic. When a veteran goes catastrophic category 4 for blindness, this is a huge relief for everybody because you're guaranteed 100% all of your medical care through the VA. You do not have to be service connected. If you're not blind and you go in there and service connected, you broke your arm, you got elbow arthritis, they'll check you out for that. If you go in there because your ankle is causing you issues, if you're not service connected, you pay co-pays, you have certain other things, okay? When you're catastrophic, it doesn't matter what happened. You're covered. Your medications are covered, and medication costs are astronomical. Your rehab, anything, it's all covered. Whatever you can think of is covered if it's offered, obviously. A lot of people are like dental. Well, the VA has some dental, but not, they're not known for their dental services. But all the other stuff, I got to tell you, it's there, and they're good. They're not, treating you poorly and everything. You'll get the service you need, and it doesn't cost. So, again, that's a major relief for so many people.
But for low vision people who are going through the clinics and to a blind rehab, correct me if I'm wrong, there is no charge for them. if they are
There
low
is
vision?
there is no charge. There that's one of those things I can't really speak 100% legally and legitimately on, because there's some twists and turns with the low vision and blind rehab services. That's how that system is navigated to what's offered. And that's where your VIST comes in. That's where your VIST coordinator, they're the experts in this, and they're the primary belly button. And that's the one you got to talk to on all that stuff. And they're the ones that are going to say, listen, we got to get to here, we got to get to there, and look at all these things and get you covered 100%.
A VIST is a visual impairment specialist team. Is that the correct?
Visual impairment service team
coordinator.
Yeah. And they're going to handle you. They're going to help you out with your PCM, with transportation, with injections, whatever you need. They're the ones. There's a neat little device. It's got two little metal prongs. You hang it on your coffee cup or whatever drink, and you fill it up, and it'll vibrate or buzz or whatever. It breaks. Call your VIST. Hey, I got this. I need a new one because it broke. Okay, and they'll get you one. Okay. I have a computer that's not working anymore. I need to get training. There's been an upgrade or whatever. Okay, we'll get you set up with that. I've got a wound on my foot. I think I got to get into the PCM. I think there's a problem. I don't know. We're going to get you in right away. Okay, they're the ones that are going to set all that stuff up. All right.
It's fascinating how technology really lights up the world for us, who have visual impairments or blindness, who live in the dark. I know that when you first wake up after a traumatic change, especially, and let's say if I didn't, it wasn't combat related, but I have met veterans who have woke up one night and they lost all their sight in one eye, and then woke up another night and they lost the rest of their vision in the other eye. Mm-hmm. And so, when your family or people close to you don't really understand how to help, and you don't have the education in assistive technology or accessible technology, it's really difficult to find answers and to search for them on your own, and to get people who are not sure of what to do or how to approach things to maybe find help. So that's why I think the BVA is it's so important with its outreach and trying to educate the public and teach people what especially for veterans what is possible if an individual pursues these kinds of services through the VA, and also files for the different claims that they deserve.
I want to give you two examples because I've been sitting on my tongue now for 10 minutes. Okay. The one I love the most is when I'll be doing something, I'll be using a circular saw, or I'll be cooking, or, whatever. You're not blind. Really? Okay. If I'm not blind, how about we do this? Let's go discuss this, have a couple of beers and discuss it. We'll run down to the bar. No, great little bar. They got some good cold beer, nice music, nice atmosphere and everything. I'll drive. Let me see your keys. Suddenly he's like, you're not driving my car. You're blind. Well, now, wait a minute, dude. You can't have it both ways. Either I am or I'm not. Okay? I'm blind. I'm not stupid. I'm not unable. I'm not incapable. I can do all this stuff. I just can't see what I'm doing. So I'm going to see with my fingers and feel it. So that's really important to do that. People don't understand. I'll tell you what, every blind person I met after a while, they're so much more knowledgeable of how an iPhone works and what that'll do for you than what a blind person can do. I help more visual people with their phones than you can imagine. And it's just turning on voiceover and doing what needs to be done.
It's so true.
That's number one.
True.
But, yeah. And there's another one, okay, that sadly, Steve, I know you're 100%, okay, but and I have a giant blob right in the middle where I can't see stuff, so it's all peripheral. Okay? Mm-hmm. But I will tell you, one of the things that society, and this isn't nothing, this is normal human nature that you got to get people to overcome. A child will come up and they're innocent, and they don't, children are curious. Why do you have a stick? What's blind? What is it? And the parents are always, oh my God, don't ask that. That's so embarrassing. No, ask. please ask. We'll teach you. I'll let kids play with my cane all the time. I'll teach them how to use it. It's not a big deal. Let them learn. Let the parents know, listen, this is where I need your help, but this is where I can handle it on my own. Okay. I may need your help crossing the street. Even though I know how to do it, it still scares me something fierce. Okay. So yeah, sometimes some intersections, it's like whatever's on the other side of that street ain't that important. So, people say, can I help you cross the street? You betcha. 100%. Okay. Other ones, they'll sit there. And the worst part is when they get quiet and they move and they stop moving and they're nothing. And it's like, okay, I know somebody was just there. You got to give me sound or motion or something. Otherwise, we're going to have an accident here. So it's really kind of funny what you were saying with that stuff. Getting people to reach out and understand, we're not contagious. We're just blind.
Yeah, it is fascinating what I've learned it'll be 17 years this May that I've been completely blind. And I think a lot of people, of course, fear blindness, who have their vision or that are sighted. And they close their eyes and they try to imagine, what is blindness exactly. And it's kind of, it doesn't really give you the exact idea of what it means to be blind, especially after attending blind rehab or being educated in different kinds of assistive technology and techniques and systems that we learn in blind rehabilitation. But the big thing is this kind of disconnect of between the wide spectrum of vision loss. There are people that have, like you're explaining, you have peripheral vision. There are so many different types of vision loss that affect us, and people sometimes only think of complete blindness, and even still, when I'm in familiar places, people forget that I am blind because I move with efficiency, and I recognize we have systems and techniques of how we operate in our home or in even hotels or places, and everybody really, whether they're visually impaired, low vision, or blind, implement or integrate these kinds of tools and techniques. But the people like listening and the public and the family members, I think it's so important for people to recognize that there are different levels of vision loss, and then a whole spectrum, of course, of legalities and acuity that kind of entitles you to certain things, like you were talking about earlier, and the different kinds of things related to blind rehab services or VA services and how things work. But really, it's a like Teresa was saying. I mean, when you lose your vision slowly, some people are there's this weird disconnect of like, well, I noticed that you can do something, the other day, but they're not thinking about, oh, well, if it's low light conditions or if it's dark, that it's harder to see, because you only have so much vision or so much light perception. And I try to explain this all the time, but it's very difficult in passing and moving quickly, to be an ambassador per se for the community. But it's so important. I wonder what you guys think about that, Terry.
Are you ready to make a difference in the lives of blinded veterans? Visit BVA.org, click on programs, then select ambassadors to learn more and register. Join the Blinded Veterans Association and help empower others today.
Well, it's sometimes very difficult as your vision changes slowly to recognize that you really do have a problem and that you are legally blind. I've talked to veterans who go, well, I'm just visually impaired. They say I'm legally blind, but I'm not really blind. And because in their heads, they're thinking no light perception is what blindness really is. But the visual impairment, the low vision, these all affect your ability to function the way you used to. I fell down early on when I had low vision and cracked a rib. And I went to my bros and I said, I need a cane. And she told me I wasn't allowed to have a cane because the white cane was only for blind people. And later I learned that you can get a cane just in a different color. to help you navigate at times when there is low light or there's high contrast with shadows and you can't tell if that's a curb on the ground or a hole or a step or where the stairs are. And it becomes very dangerous when you deny your visual impairment, especially if you continue to drive. I remember not being able to see the kids on the corner as I was turning left one day, and I said, "Oh, we're getting too close." I made an appointment, and 2 weeks later, I gave up driving. These are personal decisions, but you have to talk to yourself. I remember an eye doctor when a woman came in to get her eyes checked. She basically had like glaucoma and ended up with tunnel vision with less than 10 degrees of vision, just central vision. And she said to the doctor, "Well, can I still drive?" And he said, "You're a smart woman. You can figure that out." And I took that with me as I was going through my journey. I said, "I'm a smart person. I will be able to recognize this, and I will be able to make the decision for myself without somebody else telling me." So you have to look inside you, and you really have to examine what your visual impairments are so you can get help for them. If you deny them, like, "Oh, I can't see, on my right side anymore, so I'll just keep turning my head to the right and I'll be okay." No, we're here to help. The BVA is here to help with low vision. And sometimes it takes a friend to talk to that person. So we're asking people, do you know a veteran with low vision? Refer them to the BVA. Our veterans are out in the VFW, the American Legion, the Military Officers Association, and all of these other veteran groups. And a regular veteran is going to spot somebody who looks like they're having problems looking at things. They can't read the menu. They hesitate when they come into a dark room, things like that. And if you just talk to them, send them over to us because we can help. And our membership is free. It went free last year. You get a low vision person can have free lifetime membership in the BVA. Wonderful.
Terry,
Yep.
Go ahead, Tracy.
Oh, I was going to say, here Terry was very honest there, and that's the thing right there. Understand the honesty. Steve, you were a young kid when you lost your vision. I was in my 50s where it really took me out, late 40s. Okay, Terry wasn't a kid either. She did a full military career. There's a difference between Steve Vasquez when he lost his vision and Tracy and Terry when they lost theirs. And that's a lifetime of experience, okay, in everything, okay? So what we may recognize at our age, you may not recognize at your age. And here's the deal, okay? It's a series of check boxes, okay? Are you going to get depressed? Yep, check that box. You're depressed. Are you going to bargain? Yep. Hey, good Lord, give me back my vision. I'll do whatever. You're going to be there. Are you going to die? Yep. That light pole wasn't real and it didn't just break my nose. You're going to go through all those different levels. And you know what? Don't let anybody ever tell you, and I tell them this all the time, going blind sucks. Check that box. Get depressed. Check that box. Get angry. Check that. And when you're done checking all those boxes, you're still going blind or are blind. Okay. So now you've got that. Okay. And you're going to go back and you're going to get depressed. You're going to get angry. It happens. It's where you're human. Okay. That's how it works. That's normal psychological activity. Okay. That's how it works. But I'll give you what I've done at Congress. Remember the charter I was telling you, we had to report to Congress. So we get to go see congressmen and these folks. And in these meetings that we have, when I go in there, I will talk, and these people don't understand because they're not blind, and they're asking us, well, what does it mean? What does it mean? How does it work? And I always tell every one of them, when you go home tonight, okay, when you're all alone, all by yourself, and nobody's there to watch you, okay, before you go to bed, turn off your bathroom light, go in there, close your eyes, put toothpaste on your toothbrush, okay, with your eyes closed. Have fun, okay? Trim your toenails with your eyes closed. Make sure you got a Band-Aid, okay? It's very simple things like that, that if you just want to experience just that small 30-second experience of what it's like, there you go. It's not a bad thing. It's just the way it is. We deal with it, okay? We adapt, we overcome. So that's one of the things. But it's all honesty. I'm not gonna placate you. I'm not gonna tell you it's not that bad. I'm not gonna. Yeah, it sucks. Okay, there's nothing we can do about that. But we can teach you how to deal with it. And that's Terry brought it up. We're going to get you there. We're going to teach you how to operate. You're blind. You still get hungry. You got to feed yourself. You got to cook. You can't quit eating because you went blind. So you can't quit living because you went blind. You just got to live without seeing things with your eyes anyway.
And I do have to say, after I went legally blind, I had a cut on my finger from cooking all the time. I was cutting myself at least twice a week on some finger. And once I went to the BRC, they showed me how. And I haven't cut my finger since then. And it's been 4 years. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well,
Simple things.
Yeah.
I think a lot of what you guys are saying it's great advice for people. I mean, especially maybe someone that believes they don't belong to this community or belongs, to the BVA or wants to sign up. I mean, in your role, Terry, as a membership coordinator, I mean, are there common hesitations and concerns from veterans, or even you, Tracy? Like, are there common things that you've experienced or heard from veterans when they come and they talk about, I mean, their blindness, or they talk about their loss of sight and where they fit in, and whether or not they should be part of the community? Because I feel like a lot of people either in denial or they're depressed, like you mentioned, and they're not thinking straight about how they should approach things. And it's so important for some of these people to be next to other blind and low vision individuals.
100%. 100%. Terry, I'm going to take this one because I want to bring a couple things up. I work at a blind rehab center. I volunteer at a blind rehab center, so I'm in here all the time. Remember what I said about the kids in World War II to the generation we got now, okay? Big difference, okay? I'm not going to say we don't have young kids like you, Steve, but the majority of us are older. Now, Steve goes blind, okay? He's not going blind as a child because he's a veteran, so you got to be an adult. But Steve goes blind. Steve is a little more understanding and accepting and comfortable on his own right now, learning new things because Steve's young. He's still got that there. He's still learning life, okay? Where Jim Bob is here, and he's 75 years old, and he has never spent a night away from his wife, who he's been married to for 50 years. So who's going to be more willing and accepting and understanding to say, I'll try the blind rehab? It's going to be Steve, because you know what? He's young. He's got that desire to go learn and excitement, and life is still vivid and everything. You might be blind, but there's all these things. Jim Bob out here, man, he ain't never been away from his wife for a night in 50 years. Okay. He's the hard guy. He's really the hard one to get in because you want your wife. When my wife and we're not together, it's bothersome for me, And so I understand completely. So what do we do to fix that? How do we fix that? Well, I tell you, come on, bring your wife. Bring her here. Let her learn what it's like. Let her come into the blind rehab too and see what's going to happen. See that training process that's going to happen. Once you come in there, and the first time to a blind rehab center, you're going to be scared to death, okay? Because it's flat freaking scary. Because you're having to accept blindness, and you're going to have to accept the fact that you're going to be taught how to live life with blindness. That's a huge, huge step. And once you get in there and you sit in that cafeteria, and you're surrounded by a bunch of blinded veterans, some that are young, some that are old, some that are this, there, and we start goofing around, we start giving each other grief, and, pass me the salt. How am I going to pass you the salt? I'm blind, I can't see it, And you start joking and giving each other grief, and you relax, you realize There's the warmth and the comfort of the veteran. Okay. We all have it. We know what we're talking about with veterans. We know you're my brother. You might have been in the Army or Navy, and I'm in the Air Force. We all have our little arguments between us, inter-service rivalries. But we're veterans, and don't ever mess with a veteran if you're a veteran. Okay, it doesn't work. Blind veterans, you get that warmth and you start feeling that love that we have for each other, and we know the struggles. We're all doing this together. Man, I tell you what. Next thing you know, Jim Bob, he says, "Okay, bride, go shopping, go do something. Leave me here. I'm having fun with my fellow veterans that are blind. This is something I didn't realize and didn't know." And I watch it all the time. We have so much of this happen all the time. It's amazing that once you're here for a couple of days, you realize it's scary, but we're surrounded by people that love each other and care about each other. It's all the difference in the world, because once you get that and understand your fears are real and you're not alone, man, it makes it so much easier. Just gets you there so much easier. That's my little. I'll let you go, Terry.
Oh, I wanted to piggyback off of something you said, Tracy, about the guy who was married for 50 years. A lot of married couples, the one who is blind starts becoming dependent on their spouse. Mm-hmm. And it can be very strenuous on the person who becomes the 24-hour-a-day caregiver, who has to read everything to you, do all of your pills, the cooking, the bills, and read things and explain things to you because you can't see, and you just assume the other person will tell you everything that's happening on the television show, or what is in the room. And we have technology now that can help with that. And what that does is it gives your caregiver a respite. If you can become just a little bit more independent, the person that's taking care of you will probably be a lot happier. I remember a story of one of our veterans who said he was going through a naval ship as a museum with his family. And when he got done, he asked his son how he enjoyed the ship. And the kid said, "Really, Dad? I was too worried about your safety because of the ladders and the small cramped spaces that I really didn't see much because I was busy taking care of you." And the father realized, you know what? I have to become more independent so that my kids are not just taking care of me, that they can go on and live their life to their fullest. So it's about gaining independence, recognizing what your limitations are, and the BVA can help with that.
I love everything you guys are talking, what you're talking about. It's such a big relief when you learn a system or technique or a piece of technology that can assist you in something that you're passionate about or you love, that you once did or you never did. And you almost gain back freedom and independence, even though you assume this title of being a blind or low vision or visually impaired person. And that's what, is so uplifting, but takes some time to get to. If you, especially, when you don't consider these things and you don't, really accept that you have a problem or a challenge that needs to be addressed. And everything we've talked about and mentioned leads me to like a friend that I actually have here in the area where I live in Western Colorado. And his name is Frank, and he served in the military. He served in the Pentagon. He was a lieutenant colonel when he retired from the military, served over 25 years, was a Vietnam veteran, and served as a ranger, as a combat engineer, Army Corps of Engineers. And so he lived a great life, had great service in the military, and actually worked really hard for many years after. And now he's suffering from macular degeneration in his 80s, almost 80, late 70s. And he's lost all of his vision in one eye and most of his sight in the other. And just recently stopped driving. He would pick me up from the airport. It was so interesting. We'd go skiing, here in the ski resort towns in Colorado together. He would take me, he'd drive me up to the ski, just him and I, and we'd go skiing. And we've had this relationship, and I've watched how he's made decisions, and how he's thinking about what's going on right now in his life. And I feel that he's unsure, or maybe he's just like Tracy, you were talking about, like, when you live a long life, we're all creatures of habit is how I look at it. We live a certain way. We do things a certain way. And when you're young, you have that ability to adapt, and change, because like you said, you're still learning about life. But as you grow older, in your ways, that's what and it's hard to separate from those things. And so, but someone like my buddy Frank, who's maybe a little disinterested in pursuing blind rehab or maybe joining the BVA, what can we do? We've spoke about this already a lot. What should I tell him? And if he takes that first step to connect in some way, what is the first thing we should point him to? Like, what would you say, Tracy or Terry?
I'd have him join one of our Zoom calls. We do technology on Wednesdays. We also have a new member series on the last Monday of every month, where the new members call in and they get a chance to introduce themselves, meet other blinded veterans, and also talk to our leadership and our advocacy, and learn about the programs that we offer.
What's the web address?
We also
Terry?
have
Where do people go to learn more?
BVA.org.
Okay.
BVA.org, the Blinded Veterans Association. You can Google it, and it'll show right up. You said he enjoyed skiing. Well, as you know, there are a lot of adaptive ski programs, especially in Colorado. And the VA is running a winter sports clinic right now as we speak, and they give you a guide. I never skied before until I became legally blind, and I love it. I was too afraid to go when I could see.
No, it's amazing. And it's funny because Frank is very aware of these. He's donated to them, and he has taken me to them, like Telluride Adaptive Sports Program here in Telluride, Colorado. Mm-hmm. It's challenging, I think, for him because he, as you guys know, he's just lived so long a certain way, and he is still very independent. He still can see enough to walk and follow his wife, and his wife, I think, is helping him a tremendous amount. But it would, as a good friend to him and a fellow veteran, he loves to read and he loves to do all these things. And they're just, as you guys know, there's just so many tools that can give him some freedom in some areas to make decisions or to find things on his own and just to make his life that much better, and I'm trying to continue to encourage him to consider these things. But maybe it will have to, his vision will have to become worse. I'm unsure.
Well, here's go ahead, Terry. Go ahead.
A lot of it is about attitude. And I learned this from my parents, who were two very opposite people. They both lived to the age of 95. My father loved life. He would get up every morning wanting to learn something new. He loved challenges and change. And he just loved life till the day he died. My mother, on the other hand, never liked change. She was miserable for many years because everything was changing and she didn't like change. So I've tried to embrace the change in my life, and blindness is part of that change. And we all lose pieces of ourselves as we age. As Tracy was saying, age-related blindness is, a different construct in our heads. So embracing change and enjoying life will help, and it's part of the attitude.
I love your advice, Terry, and then I'll let Tracy say something. I just want to say, Terry, joining one of the Zoom calls gives a veteran or someone the ability from the comfort of their home, from remotely to connect with other blind and low vision veterans and learn, and also specialists and people who want to help point people in the right direction. Give them more help. Just give them more help. Go ahead, Tracy. I apologize.
No, that's good. That's cool. Don't, I have no reason to apologize. I would just say, listen, Frank, you're a lieutenant colonel. You retired
Yes.
lieutenant colonel? Okay. So obviously you're not an idiot. Okay. You're not stupid. Okay. And if I smack you in the face with this tree branch, it's going to hurt. We both know that. So, we're answering a lot of questions here, Frank. Quite honestly. So grab your ear and then grab his arm and say, come with me, because you're not allowed to pull him, but can't pull him by his ear, but he can pull himself by his ear and have him sit down with you at the computer and then sign him up for membership. Don't even ask him anymore. You're not an idiot, Frank. You're a lieutenant colonel. You're not stupid. Okay. You're just losing your eyesight and it sucks. So now, Frank, what's your address? Frank, what's your email? Fill it out. Fill out the form. Go through the form. Let him watch a blind person using the computer fill it out. Okay. And he's going to go, and if you really want to mess with, I don't know what kind of system you got, turn your screen curtain on and keep doing it. That's really going to mess with him. And it's going to impress him. Okay. And it's also going to get him on the email list for BVA happenings, which is going to come out every Friday. And he's going to get it in his email and he's going to see it. He can still do some reading, you said. So he's going to start reading these things and seeing this stuff and what's available out there. Okay. And then Terry's going to send him some emails saying, listen, we got a new members series we want you to come in on. And then you sit there and say, hey, Frank, don't forget, you got this. And he'll do it. He'll do it grudgingly. Okay. He'll be grudgingly. He's 80 years old. So, he's going to be curmudgeonly and he's going to go dragging his feet, kicking and hollering like a 3-year-old. He's going to do it. Okay. But do it. Sign him up. Then he'll have that information.
And
then he'll start.
No, absolutely. I've not given up on him. And I think it's a great advice.
What does he do, or what did he do for a living?
He's a blacksmith. He forged.
He's a blacksmith.
Forged iron, and he built custom furniture. He built stuff for Ralph Lauren's ranch, and stuff. He's very capable.
So ask him this. Frank, if you take a piece of steel and you lay it on that anvil and you hit it with a hammer, can you tell if it's hot enough to start forging by the sound? And he's going to say, yeah, of course I can. I spent my whole life doing it. Well, okay, somebody's talking to me here. Hold on. Something heard me thinking it was you.
No worries.
My iPad was listening. But he's going to tell you, yes, I can hear the temperature of that piece of metal by the sound it makes when I hit it with a hammer. I know whether it's ready to be forged or not by the sound, not by the vision, but what it sounds like. He's going to be able to tell you this knife is sharp, not by what it looks like, because you can't tell. You can maybe tell it's blunt or not, but you're going to do it by feel. What does that blade feel like? Can you do that with your eyes closed, Frank? Yeah. So what's stopping you? Why can't you sharpen a knife with your eyes closed? You've been doing it with your eyes closed your whole life and didn't even know it. Yep. You didn't even know it. So, okay. So let's keep going here, Frank. There's no reason for you to stop doing. You like reading books? Let's call up the State Library Commission and get you signed up for blind and reading disabled. So you know what? When you're walking around with your wife, when you're in your workshop, you can listen to a book and it costs nothing. It's free. There's 200,000 titles available right now and growing every day. Okay. There you go, Frank. Let's get you involved. And he will come around because he'll start seeing what can happen. Okay. And it's, that's how you got to pull them into the fold. You got to let them see. And some people, you got to work a little differently. Everybody's a piano. Terry can relate to this. She spent many years. I spent many years in the military. Everybody's a piano. You just play a key. I hit this key. Did that soldier jump? Nope. Hit the next one. Eventually, I'm going to find the one that makes that kid jump. And I'm going to use that one to make that kid do what I want him to do. The next one, I got to do the same thing. It's the same thing with Frank. I'm going to find the key that makes you jump, Frank. Okay. It's going to take me a while, but once you're there, then I'm going to keep mashing that key and you're going to jump and we're going to get you into blind rehab and we're going to teach you what it's like. And you're going to go there and eventually teach people how to sharpen a knife with their eyes closed.
And, Frank was a leader in the military. And we need leaders in the BVA. We are leaders. We're veterans.
Mhm.
So we're used to leading. We have general officers among our members. We have over almost 7,000 blind and low vision members in the BVA that are allowing us to speak for them in front of Congress and about what our needs are. But we need more people. We need to have a bigger voice. We only have 7,000 of over 1 million eligible people. We have generals, privates. We have every branch of service, including the Guardians, the Space Force. We have Coast Guard. So we're representing everybody, but we need more people to become involved so we can continue making sure that they get the benefits that they have earned, and they have earned these benefits.
I really appreciate this conversation. I wonder, is there any more that you guys can add to before we close the show?
Go to the website, www.bva.org. Check it out. Look through it. There's one on there that says About Us. It's the second row, left-hand side says About Us. The first button is Leadership. Click that button that says Leadership, and it gives you the entire leadership. The full board of officers, all the volunteers that work here, and our full staff. I think there's 13 on staff. Call any one of us. Okay? Call any one of us. Say, I need to talk to somebody about this. They may not have the time. They may, but they'll say, okay, I don't have the time. I don't have the expertise in that area, but I got somebody that does. I know somebody that does, and they'll point you to the right direction, get you somebody. Okay. And we'll talk to you. We'll get you in touch with different organizations, different people. It's if he wants, have him get a hold of me. Give him my phone number. Give him my email address. I'll talk to him. I don't mind. I'll bring him into our regional group meeting here in Louisiana, Mississippi next week. He can listen to what goes on there. He can come into our support group meetings for this. You don't have to be a blinded veteran to do these things. You can come in. Anybody's welcome. Okay. To be a member, you got to be part of it. So his wife can join the Blinded Veterans Association's auxiliary, which is our caregivers and spouses and family and friends that aren't blinded veterans. We're here for you. He's not alone. There's a whole bunch of us out there. And, like I say, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you it's fun, because it ain't. It's a lot of hard work going blind, but the payoff is worth it. There's so much more I can do now blind that I couldn't. One thing I can't do right now, and it's not because I can't, it's they won't let me, is drive a car and fly an airplane. But everything else I can do. I can even get a boat if I want and drive a boat around.
Someday you might be able to drive a
car.
I agree with Tracy, and I've been in the self-driving car. I made 7 quilts this year. I quilted before I went blind, and I taught myself the techniques needed to continue that stuff. I would say we're blinded veterans helping blinded veterans. Just like Tracy said, sit in the boat, we'll row, and eventually when we get tired, you'll know enough to take over. And you get a lot of reward from helping other people.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely.
Well, Terry and Tracy, I really appreciate your time and energy today to have this interview and conversation. I really think it'll help a lot of people, just our discussion in general. And, I'd just like to end the show.
Before you end, I want to say this. I'll see you in Dallas, brother. 5 through 11 July, Dallas is our annual convention. It's going to be a blast this year. I know you're going to be there, Steve. I know I'm going to be there. I know Terry's going to be there. This year's going to be more fun than any other year. We got a lot more fun things set up. We're going to do a Texas barbecue, line dancing, which is going to prove to be a blast. So come to Dallas.
Make sure you sign up.
It's going to be too much fun.
Make sure you sign up. Visit BVA.org.
Yeah. BVA.org. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Steve. I really appreciated you taking the time, and I appreciate what you do for the Blinded Veterans Association. You and Tracy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, most definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys. All right, everybody. Take care. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Visions of BVA. We hope you enjoyed our discussion and found it insightful. If you like what you heard, please consider subscribing to our podcast and leaving a rating or review on your favorite platform. Your feedback helps us reach more listeners and improve our show. Don't forget to follow us on social media for updates and behind-the-scenes content. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions for future episodes. Stay connected, stay informed, and we'll see you next time on Visions of BVA. This is Steve Baskis, signing off.
You're listening to a BVA production.